Wait. Grab my hand. It's time to talk therapy. Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning into another episode. I really act like this. As promised, while we're on our Let's Talk Healing series, I did tell you what's coming. Still doing our Let's Talk Healing series. I'm hoping to upload my Therapy and Jesus video by next week. Therapy and Jesus. You know what's so funny? The best thing about this, therapy and Jesus are my top 2 favorite topics to talk about. But let's get into it. Let's get into it. As you guys know, I am studying. I'm usually studying full-time, and I try to make sure to have a schedule that's going to allow me to keep up with content. But I also learned through my therapy journey that sometimes my sessions get pretty heavy. So yeah, you have to save that for a day where I can take a nap and not feel guilty, because sometimes I will try to do it on a day where I need to study and I end up just looking at the ceiling and I'm like, no, it was too heavy, I need to lay down, I need a nap. So yeah, today was therapy, and I feel like what better way to actually kickstart this conversation is right after my therapy session. I did think about recording it as I was there, but I'm like, no, that is very intimate. I wanted to focus on that. I like being present. Multitasking all the time makes you a bird brain sometimes. Makes you burn out a lot faster. So, But yes, let's get into questions. Question number 1 is, why did I choose to pursue therapy? Okay. So what actually sparked my interest in therapy was really in college. I was just really in a bad mental state of just trying to, do school. The stress was overwhelming and I didn't know how to navigate my new environment as well. Well, I was navigating it pretty well. So once I started feeling like it was getting too heavy, because that was my senior year, I went to go seek out some mental health support, because I know they provided that on campus. And I actually learned that from another classmate of mine. She was basically telling me how she took a gap year and she did some mental health counseling here. And I was like, oh, you have that? So yeah, she's like, yeah, it's free. You hear free. I'm like, oh, sign me up, child. And I went. It did not go as well as I thought it was going to go, because long story short, I just think she was just looking at me and saying, girl, do I need to call help for you? Because there was a part of the conversation and she was just asking why am I here? And I was just trying to tell her I just literally during that time felt so dead inside. I used to be so numb. And I said something along the lines of just if I could put into words of how I'm feeling, it was, I'm just waiting for the trumpet to blow. And it's once I finished saying that, she looked at me and she just started writing so fast, she was writing so fast. I'm like, oh gosh. Mind you, that always been my mother's fear. Any Haitian, they're like, don't tell these people what's wrong with you, this, that, third, because there's this stigma, this negative perspective on therapy in the Caribbean community, especially in the Black community, actually in multiple communities. So when she started writing down, I'm like, oh God, please, I hope this lady's not about to have me committed during that time. So I'm like, I was just keeping it real, but that didn't work. So again, I remember reading a book, Successful Women Think Differently by Valerie Burton. And she basically was breaking down how a successful woman thinks, pretty much in the topic. And I just remember learning how a lot of times when we look at successful people, they have different resources that help contribute to not only getting them to success, but helping them maintain that success. And I learned early on that successful people do partake in therapy simply because the craziness of the world, and also anything that happened in their childhood, any trauma that they probably had endured, it could affect them. So sometimes working it out and managing it helps them be able to just move forward in a more clearer path. So after reading that book, I was like, all right, you know what, I'm going to continue my pursuit of therapy. Found another therapist, really wasn't feeling her. She actually ghosted me. Like, she canceled our last appointment, then randomly she just messaged me a few weeks into the next year, and I was just like, you know, I'm not gonna lie, you know, there's certain jobs you can't be ghosting. There are certain jobs you can't be ghosted. Like, oh, what if I was on my last straw? So everything works out for good, but I was able to finally find my therapist. I want to say, yes, the beginning of 2023, because I always say this. I'm pretty sure maybe if I did find her before quitting my last job, I probably would have still been there. But God has a weird way of working things out for us, because he probably was like, I probably was going to rationalize myself into staying in a place that he knew he no longer wanted me to be in. So, but yes. And that brings us to the question of, why did I pursue therapy? I know I identify myself as a successful person even before the success is there. I know I want to be able to maintain that success and keep up the good work and have a decent life. I also want to participate in overcoming that stigma, you know, my family, a lot of, like, you know, the older generation just has against, like, seeking help. Because, you know, I reached out to my cousins, they're like, yeah, no, therapy has helped them. So yeah, that is why I chose to pursue therapy. All right, let's get into question number 2. How I found my therapist. So we just talked about why I chose it, and I hope, you know, probably your brain spinning, your little noggin, you know, working overtime to probably think like, dang, maybe I should try therapy. I think so. How did I find my therapist? Oh yes. Before I say anything, I want to make sure I make this disclaimer. This may not be a love at first match. If you're someone who's already hesitating, like, dang, should I try this out? And then you're already going in with such a negative mindset, and go in there, try somebody, doesn't fit, and you're like, man, I quit it, therapy ain't for me. No, I'm already telling you, especially if you know you're about to do that, it's definitely for you. Y'all be in some sucky situations, and trial and error never stops. But yet, who said that? Anyway, the first place that I went to go look on was, I believe it was like Black Girl Therapy. No, Therapy for Black Girls. It was Therapy for Black Girls. I learned about it during COVID. I remember there was that infiltration of information of resources for the Black community because of a lot of stuff that was going on. And I think that's when I first found directories and tried to basically see, like, okay, maybe I could find my therapist there. And that is where I found that second therapist. And it's no shade to that website. I just think based off the distance and stuff like that, and how I chose the criteria of the type of therapist that I wanted, and that's what led me to her. But since that didn't work out, I did expand my search onto Headway, and I do know there's another website called Psychology Today. So if you are interested, you can check those out. This brings us to another great question. How did I choose my therapist? Oh, that's pretty much the same question. But yes. So after going on there, what helped me narrow down my search, because you'll find a lot. I knew I wanted a female therapist. I think I was open to males, but then I think I just ended up finding myself looking at more female therapists. But personally for me, especially at the beginning of 2023, I know I wanted some faith-based counseling. I didn't know that it was an option until I looked at the filters that they hold on these websites to help you be able to, like, you know, narrow down to the therapist that's perfect for you. And they're like, what type of counseling do you want, and, you know, what are you coming for, and you know, to be able to see like what's their specialties. And clicking the little stuff that I need is that third, I was like, okay, yeah, I want somebody faith-based, because the thing is, most speakers, most pastors that I like, they usually preach, you know, therapy and Jesus, hence why I'm saying it like that. Like Sarah Jakes, is because we understood that stigma of not seeking therapy and not understanding that we can also find a way to make sure that it aligns with our beliefs and faith has been holding a lot of people back from actually receiving the support that they need on their journey. So going into that search for my next therapist, especially at the beginning of 2023, I knew I wanted someone that was going to help me be able to navigate my faith, my belief, and also see how I can help regulate my emotions through this very transitional period that I was in, but also give me better strategies to be able to have a better quality life, because that's the T. Quality life. That's always my biggest goal. Trying to get strategies that will help me be able to have a better quality life. Yes, after that, I went on Headway, put my insurance information, and I found my therapist, and I love her so much. After every session, I'm like, God bless you. I most likely say God bless you because I know if I probably say I love you, it might be a lot weirder. I know she heard this, she'll laugh because I say crazy. Yeah, the simple fact that I know how I am, I know how my thoughts are, I know how self-aware I can be, but at the same time, I know how all these things could literally sometimes work against me and have me putting myself in like a mental prison. And after every session, she allows me to get a better outlook on my situation and also help me be able to understand where my faith stands in those situations. Because sometimes I have a certain thought and she'll be like, but that doesn't go along with your faith. So it's just a simple fact that she helps me be able to get out of these mental prisons. Also help me master my emotions, which is going to be our last point that I want to hit on. But that is how I found my therapist. I first used therapy for Black girls, ended up going on to Headway, but I know you can also check Psychology Today. Going into choosing your therapist, please know your insurance, or if you're going to pay out of pocket. Look through the filters just in case if you don't know the criterias. But I would say have at least a basic outlook of who you would want to be able to help you through this journey called life outside of Jesus. Our next point is, I just made this one up right now. It will be, should I choose Christian-based counseling or should I just do regular therapy? First of all, I want to say therapy should be one of those things where you go in and don't feel like you have to follow a set of rules, especially if you already haven't tried it, you don't even know what to expect. So before you pigeonhole yourself into anything, know Christ for himself, because Christ is a very loving, he's the best individual you ever know. So I don't want anybody to steer you away from that. I'll just loosely say this. I would first go in, if you do find someone that is within Christian-based counseling or just simply faith-based counseling because you are different religions, by all means, go in there and just know that person is not Jesus. That person isn't the representation of all other faith-based counselors out there. Like I said, this isn't always going to be a love at first match type of situation. But if you just want to try regular therapy, by all means, you could just try regular therapy, see how that works out, and continue your own journey with faith. Do whatever will make this process more beneficial to you. Personally, for me, the reason why I wanted someone that is a faith-based counselor is because I know right then and there, my mind is going to try to think how can I incorporate this into my journey? I just was going to think okay, you said this, but how can I bring this to Jesus? I know how my nerves could work. And I'm just better have somebody who's knowledgeable on this end as well, so she can help me be able to get more clarity on this. So before we move to our next point, faith-based counseling or just regular counseling, whichever is more beneficial to you, go with that mindset. And just remember the disclaimer, which is, it's not a love at first match. Even when you go try a pair of shoes, you gotta try a few sometimes, especially sometimes it might be a little too snug, might be a little too big. It might not really match the outfit. It's a lot. And these are people. but go with the open heart. Bring us to our last point. So I was talking about nerves and benefits, and I just want to be able to give a better overview of therapy. One of the biggest key takeaways I've been running into these most recent years is understanding how mastering your emotions, learning how to regulate them in a healthy manner is one of the most powerful tools you can have, especially as women. We're very hormonal because, we have our cycle, and for men, because you're not out of this, if you haven't learned how to process your emotions, you can find yourself either being very explosive or just not showing anything at all. So once I understood how not learning those proper strategies and how it can contribute to me being harmful to myself and those around me, that was the reason why I was like, all right, let me seek some help for that, because I know me, I could just be so emotional. But I just wanted to point that out because a lot of people don't understand how it's literally in the name, cognitive behavioral therapy. It's to help you work past those unhelpful thoughts and behaviors and just see what can help you have a better quality life. I just want to point out that perspective. I just also want to end on this note. The reason why I've been trying to emphasize so much therapy and Jesus is because a lot of times when we're learning about Jesus, for some of us, if we're a perfectionist, we can get to have a legalist mindset. Or sometimes if we are one of those who sticks too much on the grace end and not understand that we're supposed to approach Christ with a God-fearing heart, we can find ourselves just being a little too loosey-goosey. Yes, Christ gives us grace, but at the same time, we're not supposed to take advantage of it. Like I said, with faith-based counseling, it has been helping me remember grace and truth and finding the balance within both. And it also has been helping me to be able to know how to approach Christ in certain situations. For example, today I was just expressing how I don't know if I should take a certain step or not, because I don't want to take control and basically end up disobeying God. But at the same time, I'm not sure if God is asking me to take a step because, faith without works. And I just love that I have a therapist that no matter what, she will never give me her answer. She keeps it as vague as she can because she wants me to go back and choose based off me and not end up having such a reliance towards her. He literally said, God works in unorthodox ways. So the way that you may be thinking or the way that I may be thinking, he may be thinking us a different way. So I think you should just, one, bring this conversation back to him, pray about it, explain to him how you're feeling, tell him this is the timeline, this is what's going on, and ask him to be able to guide you. So this is what I'm talking about. It's just giving me a better way of knowing how to grow my relationship with Christ, but also understand Christ for who he is. Because sometimes I would tell her some certain issues before and she's like, that's not Christ, right? Looking at Christ as if he's the parent that raised you. His love is unconditional. Their love is conditional. And with just that simple line, sometimes it just always redirects me back to him. Again, that is personally for me of what I'm looking for based off my goal when it comes to therapy. But whatever you're looking for, when you finally do find that therapist that is for you, you'll find yourself being redirected and placed back on that path of working towards what your goal is. And it's just a blessing to have someone in your corner, because now not only am I able to have my friends just to be my friends, of course, we have those moments, but I don't have to always feel as if like I have to find that one friend for clarity, because I have a space where I'm able to comb through these feelings, comb through these thoughts, and get clarity. Ultimately, when I tell y'all, I've been making better boundaries, I've been learning more about myself, I've been coming into this identity of a person that I truly am, also truly want to be, and helping my relationships. It's been helping me keep my standards up. It's been helping me be a lot more clear-headed and level-headed. Don't get me wrong, there's been tears, there's still work, But at the same time, it's a journey. I know that with the help of God and Him speaking through her, I'm going to continue making those healthy steps that will contribute to a better quality life. And I want that for you. I really do. That's why I really want to talk about it, because when I tell y'all, sometimes we talk about therapy and people start looking at you like a crazy person. No, you're not. But I really hope you guys enjoy this. If you have any more questions, please leave them below. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. I'll be making sure to drop my next episode of Let's Talk Healing. Until next time, love you guys.